Pressure. We all deal with it in our daily lives. It's what drives us to perform and do better. But as we all know, too much pressure can demotivate and even depress us. The goals to perform better and better and better seem to be going higher, but so do the rates of teenage mental illness. So let's look at that pressure, which, in the words of Freddie Mercury, pushes down on me and pushes down on you. Is there a connection between academic pressure and mental health symptoms? Here to take on this very challenging question is Ms. Ruchi Mohunta, an educator who's taught and trained teens, conducts nature-based camps with women and children, is a clarity coach for career choices, author of Mom Teen Reasons to Write, a book she co-authored with her own daughter, and here comes the best part. At age 40, she climbed the Everest Base Camp. Wow. She knows the system inside and out, and she knows teenagers. So, Ms. Monta, welcome to TeenWork. Let's jump in.
Thank you so much, Aryan.
Let's start with the title of your book, Mom Teen Reasons to Write. What does that mean exactly?
So, Mom Teen Reasons to Write is a book that my daughter and I co-authored, and we did it when she was 13 years old. She's now 17. So this book was written about 4 years back. And it's all about making a journal entry. So it would be, we picked up 13 common issues that teenagers and parents typically have, right? From peer pressure to time management, to waking up late in the morning, to money management, to, the gadgets and the use of gadgets. So we would take up a topic, and then I would make an entry which would say, Dear Diary, and write about my perspective of it. And she would say, Dear Diary, and write her perspective of it. So typically like a messy room. So she writes in a chapter like a messy room all about, I understand that there are some things kept somewhere, but that's exactly where I like to see them so that I can pick it up. And that's her journal entry. And my journal entry would be something like, I've come back after a long day at work, and the last thing I want to see is, pizza plates lying around and chocolate wrappers. So what a parent feels and what a teenager feels. So it's very, it's not a book which is a self-help book. It's not in the category of a self-help book. But definitely when you look at the two perspectives of a parent and a teen, so teenagers who read the book picked up a lot about what their parents felt. And more importantly, parents who picked up the book understood what's going on in a teen's mind. So it's a very fun, light book, but it does drive
I can imagine. I can imagine. Yeah.
So that's what is Mom Teen Reasons to Write all about.
Sounds like a great book, really.
Yeah, it's a nice, light, fun way of putting things across. And the deep message that I honestly wanted to give through the book is to say, no matter what happens, keep your communication open with your teen. And as a result of which, when Partvi and I were doing this book together, and we started understanding what the other was feeling. So as a parent and a child, our communication really hit off together. And I'm very grateful for that.
Now, in what way would you say that academic stress relates to mental health issues now?
So a lot of mental health issues that are coming up right now in teens, and as there is a lot of data to show that just before the announcement of a 10th standard exam or a 12th standard board exam, the suicide rates are reported. So there is a lot of academic pressure, which leads children to take such a drastic step. But even apart from that, when I deal with teenagers, typically their anxiety levels are much higher just before an examination. So there is a clear indication that academic pressure does cause mental health issues. I won't say that's the only reason, but it's primarily an important reason. And it's very interlinked to a lot of other things. But definitely it is something that happens amongst teens, and sadly so. Sadly so. It's not just about parents who have set certain standards for their kids. A lot of children set very high standards for themselves. So they begin to start comparing themselves with their peer group based on the grades that they are getting. So, like they want to be a part of a particular group, and this group is full of achievers. All of them are acing it in their academics. They're very good at sports, creativity, public speaking, whole lot of stuff. So to be a part of that group, they know it's like a golden ticket, that if I want to be a part of that group, I need to be performing very well, irrespective of whether or not they have the skill sets for it. To be a part of that group, they end up doing this. So it's not just induced from the side of the parents or the educators and the school. A lot of that is also self-induced, because they have some unrealistic, notions about themselves to excel.
Right. Right. So next question, like, let's face it, pressure is inevitable, and it's not always a bad thing. It can drive, like I said earlier, it can drive us to do better. But how does one deal with pressure in a positive, productive way without cracking?
Right. So pressure is important. Definitely, it's important because it helps us to get better at what we are doing. But I would say that it is important to have very realistic goals for yourself. And by that, I mean that be very aware of what are my strengths. So I might be good at maybe the languages, but I might not be so good at mathematics. But if I'm going to push myself and have some very unrealistic claims that I can get maybe a 90%, 100% in maths, whereas it does not even come so naturally to me. Whereas English comes very naturally to me. So being very realistic about your skill set, knowing very clearly, I am good at this. These are herein lie my strengths. And this is something which I'm probably average at, or maybe a little below average. But nevertheless, I'm just going to be okay at it, but I'm going to ace it at something that I'm really good at. So knowing or being a little aware of your own skill set is extremely basically means that every individual is unique. So if you're going to get a fish to climb a tree, it's definitely going to be unsuccessful. But you leave the fish in the water and it's going to ace it. So we need to know what we're really good at and work on our strengths. And that is the only way to handle academic pressure.
So find your niche and get into it, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. As a society, we can't really change the narrative that, or well, really the reality that we're driven by success. We can't change the narrative that this is a success-driven society, because truth be told, it kind of is. But can we expect support from home and even from school if we fall short of that, or if we even if we think that we're not, even if we think we've fallen short, but we really have?
Absolutely. I think the entire narrative that a child creates for himself or herself is based on the stories that are being fed by a parent and the educator. So I feel as a parent, it's our primary responsibility to make our children feel comfortable in their own skin. So if I know my child is very good at English or is very good at a particular subject, but not so great at something else, can I help my child focus on what are they good at, so that their self-esteem builds by what they are really good at, not by constantly criticizing them and telling them, oh yeah, okay, fine, you've got your marks in English, but look at your science marks, or look at your math marks, and how do you think you're going to get into any college? Now you're focusing on absolutely the wrong thing. Your child is very good at something. Rather than focusing on that, the whole focus is on something that they're not good at. So as a parent, it's our prime responsibility to help our children feel comfortable and happy about their strengths. And as educators also, it's very important for us to identify those things. Every child is unique and every child is good at one thing or the other. That's a fundamental truth. So we
Right.
cannot deny that. So maybe the child is not so good in academics, but maybe the child is very good in some sport, or maybe the child is extremely good at public speaking, or maybe the child is a very good dancer, or maybe the child is just somebody who really knows how to keep an entire group together, so has teamwork and leadership skills. So as an educator, it is our responsibility again to look at what is the child good at, and can we applaud the child just as much as we encourage the child to focus on other things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Think that as educators and as parents, It's our prime responsibility to make them feel good about their strengths.
Right. So thank you so much, Ms. Moanta. We've got a lot out of today's session. I know I personally have gotten a lot out of today's session. So until the next one, bye from me.
Thank you so much, Aryan, and thank you so much, Upturn Life-Centered Learning. Thank you.